Welcome back to the Majo Podcast, Real, Raw, Unfiltered. I'm Derek, and this is Jason.
Last time you said last time you introduced before me, so I didn't want I was let you go through it, so you didn't leave me out. I know it's all.
Right. I was gonna let you get it yourself this time. So I'm Derek, and this is Jason, as always. So, well, real quick, if you missed last week's episode, she said it feels like a chore. Go check that one out. That one hit a lot of people in the gut. And if it didn't pop up for you, this algorithm thinks you're scared of intimacy. So prove it wrong. Hit the follow button and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Today we're talking about something every couple experiences, but almost nobody names. Why does sex sometimes feel fine, but not connected? This is more than just a quickie. And our guy Peace is back for one more episode at part 5. Appreciate you being back with us to help us break this down.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So let's recap real quick where we've been. All right. So part 1, I want her, she wants sleep. That was about desire mismatch and why couples stop reaching for each other, right? Part 2 was we don't talk about sex, so we argue about dishes. How talking about sex somehow feels harder than having it at times. Part 3, can we still be hot together? We talked about body image, confidence, and why not feeling sexy shuts down everything down sometimes for couples. Part 4, she said it feels like a chore, how identity shifts, pressure, and resentment turn sex into obligation. And today, part 5, more than just a quickie. So this is where it all lands, kind of leads up to this. So because quick functional sex is usually what couples fall into when all these other layers go unspoken for, right? So
That's right.
why do couples fall into a pattern of quick functional sex even when they want something deeper? Which I
Wow.
didn't, that
Great
question didn't mean to say anyway, deeper.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A little slip there.
A little slip there for sure. Yeah. But go ahead. How do they fall into that pattern when they need something more?
Yeah. Well, fast sex or quickies, it protects us against vulnerability,
Mm,
right? Slow sex requires you got to be present. You got to have eye contact. The touching means something. You feel it in your body. And when you're struggling to just connect, then we talked about all this with, sex for some people means love, means connection. And it's like, well, if I just get that, then I will feel all these other things. And then you
mm,
get into this pattern of avoidance, right?
mm-hmm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a
Quickie.
lot of times it'll start with kids and busy and this and that, and it never really you never really get back to the root of where it all started. Like once the kids get older and it's not that constant. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. You guys have become it's become such a pattern that it's hard to break that pattern and get back to. It's kind of like we talked about before when we talked about, what you do when your kids get older and leave the house and it's just you and your wife now and you're like, well, I don't even fucking know you, dude. Like, I mean, who are you again? And it's the same thing. Like you have to go back to learning what it was to have the long form version, not the abridged version of the sexual contact.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I'm not saying quickies are not good. Like
mm,
if you're having quickies, that does not mean you're having other issues in your relationship. It's just that if you're always having quickies and that is like, that's it on the menu, you got to look deeper, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Quick sex is like pizza. It's like you can't ever have that. It's good pizza or bad pizza. It's still pizza. So like sex is still sex. It's still cool, but I mean, if it could be better, like we want to try to get that too.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
think it's important to think about quickies if that's the only thing on the menu, that's what we call performance mode, right? You are performing,
mhm.
and slowing it down means you're in connection mode. And so a lot of men are conditioned to perform rather than to feel, and this is how it shows up physically.
Yeah, I wish we could get more viewer comments as I was curious about what other people's experiences were. I know we talked about it a little bit last week about, growing up as a boy and the images and the messages that were sent about that it's all about performance. And then you get into a relationship and it's more than that, but there's so much anxiety that comes with sex. I would assume for especially early on, first time having sex, but never going away.
Yeah,
Um, so if you're watching this, send in more comments so that we can talk about them more. I think quickies can be fine. It's about the emotional connection piece, right? Like,
that's right.
and that was interesting the way you say slowing down. Say slowing down makes you kind of be more vulnerable.
It does. Yeah.
Mm,
So,
to
okay,
take
try
into
this one for both of you. Like, if you think about it, your nervous system, and we talked about this in previous episodes, but like your nervous system really determines the kind of sex you're going to have,
mm,
right? So
mhm,
think of quickies as a fight or flight. That's what's going on, right? So maybe you're stressed, you're anxious, you're shutting down, right? So slow sex, you have to overcome those things. It could feel overwhelming when you're in that state. And so
mm,
your nervous system, right? It's not your libido is not broken. It's your nervous system that's overwhelmed. And,
mhm,
you know, there's a lot of
mm.
stimulus getting thrown at it.
I'm trying to think back and think about when I still think the performance piece plays a part in my view of sex. Even though I don't think that we've ever, I mean, at least my wife has never told me had an issue with performance, right? But like I think we've always kind of felt that connection regardless. But I can think back before, um, and for clarity for this, like my wife is the only person I've ever had sex with. So, like before I met her and had sex, like I remember guys talking about it and they would talk about like, I got to think about baseball. I got to think about this and this over here and this over here. And I'm like, why? You know what I'm saying? And, but it's just going back to that performance anxiety, that anxiety that's there. And so, and think about how disconnecting that would feel or that would be, right? To that
Absolutely.
you're mentally not in it because you're trying to perform, that you really can't figure it out. And I don't think that again, I don't know, maybe I have at some point, but I don't know if I've ever had that issue. So that's kind of a foreign concept to me with my wife and I.
Well, it's
Mhm.
also the misguided, thing we hear as kids. Like when you're younger and people talk about it, you think that the shit that you hear in songs like "I'll make love to you all night," like it's gonna be a fucking all this shit. People like, what? Come on, like let's be like
Right.
you hear people talking about, oh yeah, I want 45, 50 minutes, and it's like, huh? Like I got shit to do, doc. Like, come on, man. Like I get it's fantastic. Like I'd love to be in there as much as possible, as long as possible. However, let's be realistic. Like for these people being like, oh, it was like 6 hours. Like, come on now.
Especially now, I'll be seeing on like TikTok because I have relationship stuff on my TikTok, and they talk about going rounds, and I'm like, bro, I got to get up in the morning, like.
Well,
That's
and that's the thing too, though. It's like as long as you guys are on the same page with that kind of thing, you don't want somebody that wants like 45 minutes and you're over here with like 3 and being like, oh, I never got time to cuddle and I can go to sleep. Like, that's the mismatches that we talk about. But at the same
right,
time, you
right.
guys are both dialed in and like, nah, this is gonna be like a 1 or 2 round type of situation. You may get 2 out of me, but like probably just gonna be 1 and we're gonna, high five and then go to sleep. Like
Good job. And get some dap at the end of it. All right. Man, I don't know. So I've been thinking about this, and I'm curious of how the culture around sex has. I think at some level, I feel like it's made it even performance anxiety even worse, or made it more performance focused
oh yeah.
than even it was when we were kids.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
right.
Because I mean, thinking about that, if you can't go 2, 3 rounds, and I'm like, bro, like I couldn't imagine having to be in the dating world a day, and then they're like, hey, listen, you need to go 3 rounds, and I'm like, what?
But
I'm
I can't,
43
I
years old. I
can't
can
take
barely walk up the stairs.
I can't take you to Cheesecake Factory, and I got to go 3 rounds. Like, come on,
Right,
nah,
right.
you got to just go ahead and swipe next because I'm not the one for you. Because
Right. It's a scary sign. It's a scary thought. I don't know. Peace. Do you think that there's any kind of increase in that with that kind of that narrative that's out there like that? That it has to be really you got to perform.
Yeah. The exposure for young people to porn at such a young age. And,
Mm,
that is like watching a Marvel movie and thinking it's real. And
mm-hmm,
so if that's your example of what life looks like sexually, then that's 100% performance,
mm-hmm,
right? It is. And so young people are getting prescribed, they're getting it online. They're taking, Viagra, Cialis at an alarming rate. And some of
mm,
that, they're having erectile issues because they're watching porn nonstop. So you're hitting it from multiple angles. And now you've got this idea of like, oh, I've got to perform. And, the whole baseball thing, I think that's hilarious because in our field, that's disassociation, right? You're
mm,
trying to like disassociate from this reality
right.
that you're in. And, if you kind of disappear during sex in your head, right? If you kind of just wander off and disappear, usually that's an indicator that that moment is feeling overwhelming or too much.
Mm.
Yeah, it's no different than people used to say, like, the misconception of if you're not any good, like the woman's counting ceiling tiles or thinking about doing laundry, or it's no different from the female to male perspective of it. Like my wife
Right.
and I were actually talking about this last night. We She was talking about how, because she's very, very ADHD, like spun the fuck out ADHD, like pinging on all cylinders. Like she constantly has like 5 or 6 things on a loop in her head at all times. And I'm very high functioning ADD or ADHD as well. I used to have way more problems with that, but over the years, I have trained myself to quiet the noise. Like I can shut the light in the attic off and it'll just stop. It's
Mm.
taken me a very long time to do that, and I
Yeah.
know that not everybody can do that, and I know she's one of those people that can't. But we were talking about it, and I was like, it was before we actually got intimate, and I told her, I was like, "Listen," I was like, "We're not about to do this shit if you're going to be over here thinking about this list of what you got to do in the kitchen tomorrow and all these other boxes and stuff. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm tapping out." I was like, "Because I'm going to tell you right now ahead, like, if I can tell that your ass is not in, like not locked in, like, I'm not wasting my time."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
because we've had the conversation of quality over quantity and that type of
Mhm.
shit. I'm like, if you're not going to be locked in, like, there's no point. And no, we talked about it. She's like, no, no, no. She goes, it's like background noise to a point. Like when I'm finally focused and we're doing, we're in it, like it becomes like the TV's on in the background. Like I'm not paying attention to it, but the noise is still there. She's
Yeah.
like, I drown it out. Like it doesn't connect with me in the way it does when I'm thinking about it, like when I'm really focusing on all the noise at one time. She's like, but it just like, so she took time to explain it to me in such a way that it made me comfortable enough to know that like we can still take it to that next level and her still be locked in, but the noise is still there. So I was like, oh, she's like, it's like if we had the radio on. I was like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it,
she can borrow your regulated nervous system, right? So 5 to 8 eye gaze, deep breaths, and all of a sudden your nervous systems start to sync up, right?
Mm.
And if you're kind of the one leading the breaths, right? So in the relationship, somebody when you do these eye gazes, somebody's like, okay, I'll start breathing, right? Um, just each breath go a little bit slower, a little bit deeper, and you'll find even with ADHD, they'll really start to regulate and match your pattern.
huh, I didn't know
And
that.
one of the best ways you can do that is just practice it, right? And so I'll get my couples once they, if they're in a lot of dysfunction, once they kind of down regulated and they're like ready to work on the relationship, it's like, all right, now your homework every day, 2, 3 times a day. I just want you to look at each other, 5 breaths. And the really avoidant ones will come in and go, we just didn't have any time. And I'm like, oh wow, you held your breath this whole time? Like
I didn't
You
breathe.
ain't
so
time
let's
to
try it
breathe.
again. Like we're just breathing. And then what will happen is over time, you can just look at that person across the room and instantly downregulate, right?
Mm.
We see each other through window pane of the soul, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
Man, that's
slowing it
interesting.
down. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no, no.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good. Slowing it down makes yeah. Don't. That's fine. Slowing it down. I just never thought about that and knew that there could be that connection there. Again, I guess, man, I want to. I maybe need to read more of this because there's just a way that like my wife and I won't say we always have, but for the majority of the time, like there's a way that we do that down regulation when we see each other, like when we hug, when we come home from work or something like that, or even in bed at night, even if we're not intimate, there's a kiss there, and the kiss there is like just this, right? And I'm like, so some of that stuff is just kind of, I mean, I hear it, I work with people on it, I help, them work through their stuff that, obviously the wounds there that are keeping them from having that.
That's right.
But it's just always interesting to hear that people don't necessarily have that with their spouse, that it's just something that feels so kind of natural
Right.
that's kind of been there since the beginning, I think, for us. Now, there's been times that we've been really upset with each other, come some of the down moments of our relationship that it's been harder to get that, right?
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
guess I can relate on some level, but there's always been like this deeper level inside that when she was around, I felt down regulated. I felt more comfortable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I felt just relaxed so she was there. And we don't have to be talking. Like we can be just on the couch together and we're just cool, like we're chill.
Oh
Yeah.
no,
Um,
that's Sarah's whole thing. Like that is her down regulating time is after work to come home after the day she's had and just sit like in the bed next to me and not say shit, not do shit, not talk about shit, like like she'll just be on her phone and I'll be watching TV or whatever it is, and the TV noises in the background, she half pays attention, and but just being there in that moment in the silence is what sets her back to center.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to try that eye gaze stuff. Even though we feel connected, I'm gonna have to try that just to see.
Yeah.
Because I have ADHD, so there's a lot of times my brain is running. Um, which in the future we're gonna have a future episode over ADHD towards the end of the year, which should be a really good one. So,
Okay.
but I'm gonna try that and see what that's about. So, before we move forward, I had a question that popped up of what is the difference between having sex and feeling connected during sex? Maybe we should break that down so people can understand what that means at its base.
Um, well, one could be just the physical component, right? I get so many guys that are like, "Man, I just want to have an orgasm."
Hmm.
I'm like, "Well, you don't need your wife for that." But no, no, no. I need her. I need my partner to. And like, okay, so what you're really saying is you want connection. Otherwise, you would take care of that yourself. So you want connection, and that connection means something, and you're avoiding it. So I would ask all of our viewers and listeners to just, if sex has just become quickies and that's it, what are you avoiding?
Mm,
Right? Are you avoiding emotional closeness? Are you avoiding body changes? Are you avoiding rejection, right, or fear of rejection, or just being vulnerable, right? Being scared. You get into this pattern, just like you said. Like you can get into really healthy patterns, and you can get really dysfunctional patterns. And problem is, you don't know when you're in the middle of it. And you just wake up, you're like, well, we're having sex, life must be okay.
hmm.
But there's still something itching at you. Like, something's just not. It's not there. What are we avoiding?
Process over content,
Yeah.
right? So instead of
Yeah.
looking at the content of we just have quickies, what is the process there what is the quickie speaking to, or
What
why
are you
are we
avoiding?
having, what are we avoiding, right? The
That's
process
right.
of what's happening and not the content of what's happening.
That's right. So what we want to do is increase tolerance. Right. We want to, if it's body, I get it. Right. We're all changing. We talked about this on a previous episode.
Hmm.
It's life is happening to us. So if that's the case, we want to slowly increase tolerance. Right. So um, can we start to shed more clothes during sex so we can slow things down and go at a different pace, be more um, conscious of the choices and the decisions and what we're saying. Can we change things up, right? If it's,
Hmm.
we work with a lot. We talked about this last time. We got to work with in the Midwest with a lot of conservatives, which they'll say, "Hey, we are a lights off missionary. We don't do any of that kinky stuff." And I'm like, "That's your kink. Like
Hmm.
that's your thing. If it's lights
Like
off missionary, that's you, right?"
Hmm.
But we want to increase the tolerance.
Right. And Jason, I don't know if you have anything off of that, but it just spawned a question. Why does it feel safer to go fast than to go slow? What is that about?
Yeah,
Like,
we can avoid everything. We don't have to look at each other. We don't have to talk to each other. We can just, in a way, mutually masturbate.
Yeah, you're phoning it
well,
in. You're phoning it
Right.
in. You're given the definition of intimacy without having to actually do all the baggage that comes with it. You
okay.
you say, "Oh, I mean, we're having sex, right?" Like P said, we're having sex, everything's fine. There's no problems here because we're still getting it in. But you're not
Mhm.
really. I mean, you technically yes. However,
Yeah, that disassociation piece. I don't think people recognize that's what's happening in that moment
Yeah.
yeah,
when your brain is going somewhere else, your mind is going somewhere else, and your brain thinks it's safer, and how that's attached to, there's something there, something childhood there, something trauma there, there's something going on there, and obviously an avoidance. And so to slow down, because I mean, yeah, thinking about the work we do, right, like slow down, and what does your brain come up with? Well, I know that's more psychodynamic relational, but like what's the first thing your brain says, or where'd you just go right there, what's that about? And a
That's
lot
right.
of people try to go by it, right? Like, I know not everybody's a therapist that listens to us, but there's a way that when I'm sitting with a client and you see their eyes kind of go, and they come back to you real quick, and it's like, what was that?
where'd you
Mhm.
go?
Right? Where was that? And it's usually the great content.
Yeah.
Whatever was there is where we need to follow,
That's right.
right? But their brain gets them out of that really quick to keep it safe because there's something vulnerable there. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing here, like doing something quick or letting your mind go somewhere else so you're not in the moment. That's a safety thing. And I'm not
It
saying
is.
that there's I want this to be clear of like, it's not judgment saying this,
Mm-mm.
that using this as a sign that there's something going on with you and that you need
Yeah.
to understand it and dig in and have compassion for it so that you can figure out what that's about so you can be present.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Anyway, Jake.
it may not be something that you can name, and that's okay too. Like you may not be able to put your finger on it at first, but the fact of knowing that there's something there further that you need to dig into and really kind of pay attention to is the first step in knowing that there's something that, that there's work that needs to be done. And that doesn't
Mhm.
make it a bad thing. Like it's not a, oh shit, something's wrong with me, I'm broken. It's just a, let's figure out why this is what this is.
Yeah. We can put this into like two different big buckets, right? So we can do an emotional bucket. So that one's really easy to start breaking down. Like, is it communication that we're avoiding? Is it emotions that we're avoiding? Is it feelings that we're avoiding? What are we avoiding by just hurry up and getting this done? Then there's the physical component. So, a lot of men listening, if they've ever had any experience around premature ejaculation, that's now going to start causing this anxiety, this fear driver that's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Well, that actually causes you to get there even faster. And
Mhm.
so then quickies become this defense mechanism or this way to hide this anxiety that's going on inside. So we got two different buckets, right? It could be male driven, it could be relationship driven. And on the female side, if we're talking about heterosexual couples, on the female side, you got something similar too, right? It could be painful sex. It could be, I don't like this. Very, very, very few women, and they are very lucky if they can actually have an orgasm from a penis.
Mm.
Their anatomy is just not built that way, right? And
Mhm.
so it's almost this weird fallacy that guys need to last 45 minutes because the women don't want that, right?
Mhm.
They just their anatomy doesn't work that way. And so sometimes from a physical side, women will, not complain that, oh wow, we're just gonna have quickies, or may even engage and start with, can we just have a quickie? Because they don't want to go through this whole process of getting rubbed raw, right?
Mhm.
And they could also have the emotional pieces too of, I don't want to address some of these emotional things. And so let's just hurry up and get this done.
I've often wondered, how do you get, because I don't know if I've, and this is, maybe a vulnerable moment as a therapist. I don't know if I've had a guy that's actually admitted to premature ejaculation or struggling in that department. So I don't know, if you've talked to anybody about that, but how do you get a guy to take that risk to say that? Because that's a big deal. I know hymns and blue chews and all those are all over social media now. You can't watch a YouTube video with a blue chew ad.
Yeah.
But how do you get a
So
how can
those
you
those folks are really focused in on erectile dysfunction,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Right.
Those pills are not going to help you control ejaculation.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
they're two different buckets.
Mhm.
Um, I have men who tell me, and couples who will tell me on the intake, this is why we're here, right? We need to figure out how to overcome this because um, what will happen is it will get faster and faster and faster to the point where just thinking about it, oh my God, it's already over. And now you've
Uh-huh.
got this 40-minute refractory period, and then it's like right back where we started. So people then start to do this whole like, are you cheating on me? Are you doing this somewhere else? It causes even more fear and anxiety. And
Mhm.
we're going to speed this train up faster and faster.
Mm.
So if they're, obviously, if, I put my shingle out there saying, I focus on sex stuff. So they're showing up like, hey, I'm ready to get this going.
That makes sense,
And then
yeah.
I've had 20 plus sessions. And then, 2 minutes before the session's over, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, I really struggle with premature ejaculation. Maybe we could talk about that sometime. Bye. And they walk out.
Doorknob
And I was like,
session,
they
yeah.
had to kind of, get over, that's a fear in itself of admitting, oh, I think this is happening for me.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's now starting to build up their tolerance, build up what sex means for them, getting their partner engaged and helping them slow down. My favorite. We're always going to go back to sensate,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
there's a whole protocol to really, the young kids are edging. Um, there's new names for all this stuff. It's just fascinating to keep up with. But
Mhm.
essentially, you're just getting closer to orgasm and then holding back, getting closer to orgasm, holding back.
Mm.
There's a bunch of other techniques that we can teach the men how to do. But yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
see it
trying
quite a
to
bit.
yeah, like the understanding that if you're coming to somebody, it's not a bad thing to say what's going on, truly what's going on so that you can work with it.
That's right.
And if you feel judged, talk about that feeling judged too as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
But
you're in the right place for it, because I mean, if that's the thing, if you can't be that vulnerable in front of your partner, there's deeper work you gotta do anyway, so you might as well open with that from the jump. And because 'cause I'm a big proponent of getting shit out of the way early, because the sooner you can get it out early, I mean, get it out of the way now so that you can talk about it and get it over with, because 'cause you'd much rather be on the other side of this
Yeah.
mhm,
than you would have to be 15, 20 years in and be like, "Well, this happened 25 years ago and this bitch," and then you gotta go through all that, and you don't want to do that shit. So the quicker you can get it out there on the table and talk about it, because it's not like your partner doesn't know. Your
mhm,
partner knows. It's just, it's whether or not you feel like they're gonna judge you for it, or however it's gonna look to you. But, like I said, it's that's a deeper conversation that needs to happen, and what better place to have it happen than in there?
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, I mean,
and
again, the quickie is not the issue, right? Like,
mhm,
if our listeners are having quickies, have fun, go at it, right? If that's your thing, go. If there's no issues, just have a great time. But the avoidance, that's the issue,
mhm,
right? If you're doing quickies for avoidance, it's just going to snowball and get worse. So now's
mhm,
the time to go find a couples therapist and start to talk about what are you avoiding.
right, right. And I'm glad you said that part about it's just for those pills are just for ED because they do say that they're for premature ejaculation. There's
Well,
I
they have a separate set of things. So they have the ED side, but then they also have things that will help for premature ejaculation, things like that are supposed to help you last longer and things like that, for even
And a
just
lot
do
of those are SSRIs, right? So they're
oh,
mhm,
but that causes all kinds of other issues, right? And then
mhm,
you'll have, guys on SSRIs, even women on SSRIs, and they're like, I can't reach orgasm. Like, that part of the brain is just turned off. And
mm,
so you got to really work, and really then have to talk about, like, so what does orgasm mean? If you're having a great time, what does that mean? Right?
mm,
And why are we so focused on the goal? Why are we focused on the end and not enjoying the trip that you're
mm.
on, right?
That's fascinating. I'm curious what answers you get when you ask that question. What have you got when you say, why are we so focused on the goal instead of the journey? What have you
It's the sex script they were taught. It's the
Mhm,
media. It is the porn they watch. It is TV shows, books. It's how people talk. And I think that ultimately causes dissatisfaction for women, because we create this environment where as long as the man has an orgasm, everything and everybody should be just fine. And
mm,
the other person's their own person,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And then we go, oh, well, maybe it just takes longer. So I got to last longer. There's all these stories we tell ourselves, but it's all about, I need to hurry up and get to the destination because for some reason the drive there is terrible.
mm,
And I need to avoid everything about it. I need to avoid the scariness of intimacy. And then, what if she doesn't like this and doesn't, but if we just hurry up and get it done, nobody can talk about it. It's over.
mm.
And so I
Fascinating.
invite them. Who taught you this? Where did you learn this?
Yeah.
How do we challenge that? And I'll tell you, I work with the kink community. I was very new to that world, especially when starting school. And I mean, I did my training in San Francisco and just got thrown into the deep end. And I was like, oh man, these folks are having a good time, because it's not about orgasm for them. It is about the entire menu and not just the last bite of dessert. Right. So that's really what we're thinking. We're thinking about a buffet, but all we're concerned about is that last bite of dessert. We don't really care about anything else on the buffet.
there's a
Mm,
difference in a chef's tasting experience or going to Golden Corral.
mhm,
Yeah,
It's two
mm,
completely different situations.
that's right.
mhm. Yeah, and I'm also curious about this. Like, how do you what's the question there? Because before, let me preface it with like in my planning of this episode, porn did come up a little bit, and I thought about making it a part of this conversation. It's just kind of naturally popped up now, but think about maybe having an episode in the future about porn. But I guess with today's, especially in our society, the view of porn and how it's been normalized and made okay, when really there's a lot of detriment, especially for early exposure to porn.
Right.
Like especially for males, like early exposure to porn is detrimental. How do you help couples have conversations around porn and kind of help them see, like, I mean, sure, like porn can be fun and it can be something added in if you want to do that, and also be aware, that there's this other side to it, just like anything else.
Yeah, there's two big schools of camp within the sex therapy world. There is the addiction model where you are doing some really out of control behavior despite any of the consequences that you're going to face.
Mhm.
And a lot of people fall into that camp. The other camp is this is a very compulsive behavior to avoid something or to cope with something.
Mhm.
And so it's really hard to say, okay, just like food, you're addicted to food. Awesome. Don't eat anymore. It's maybe easier to do that with heroin or cocaine. Like, please don't do that anymore. And I don't want to do it anymore. And now I'm going to be sober. It's really hard to say, okay, you're a married couple, no more orgasms. Right.
Mm.
But if you are dealing with that, what is it replacing? Are you avoiding intimacy and connection? So hurry up and just watch porn and get to orgasm because I need that dopamine hit and I need that oxytocin at the end of it. So I want to anticipate this all day long and then I want to watch it, get my oxytocin, calm down, move on with the day. And why is partnered sex so avoidant?
Mm.
And some people be like, well, I don't have the time. Okay. What's causing you to want to hurry up? And I'll get things, I'll get abstract things like, well, we're both busy or this or that. And it goes right back to the whole breathing, right? Oh, you don't have time for 5 breaths?
Mhm.
And then in those instances, quickies are great. Like, let's get back to connecting some way. And
Mhm.
that's for really avoiding people, right? So the folks who come in and go, yeah, we haven't had sex in, 8 months, a year, 2 years. Um, quickies are not their problem.
Mhm. Right.
Avoidance is their problem.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to kind of again asking those questions about the narrative around that and what is not the content but the process of it. When I was SNU, a lot of the I have a porn problem, right? A lot of males coming in, the young males in college coming in with a porn problem. um, pastor or theology as their major, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of opened my eyes that I had a client once come in and that was his complaint, and we didn't even focus on it, and we just talked about talked about his life and different things like that, and come to find out, he was exposed to porn when he was around 12, 13, and through processing and talking about it, there's something that happened to him at 12 or 13 that threw his world into kind of chaos, and porn was the place where he could control everything.
That's right.
He could pick what he wanted to watch. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what the outcome was. And so there was this, although he was focused on, stuck on the sex portion of it and the orgasm portion of it, it was really about this underlying sense of out of control and grief and sadness over what happened during at 12 or 13, that then porn came in as a coping skill
Yeah.
and helped him feel that control. But
Absolutely.
he was focused on the behavior and felt so much shame and judgment about it, especially in that community. And the more we talked and were able to get, once we got to that place, he was like, huh, right? Like it just made so much sense to him. And so, yeah, I think, helping couples understand like there's something else here. Like I haven't had, I think the two different camps is interesting. You said compulsion and addiction, right? I think what my experience has been, those are combined.
Mm,
Like it comes from a place of trying to help with something, and then kind of there's this physiological aspect that becomes addicting, I think, to it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's
yeah.
like this mixture of it from that I've seen of like, because then you do have the physiological side. Like think about alcohol, you just stop drinking alcohol, although you may figure out the emotional piece of what's driving the alcohol, your body still has the physical addiction piece to it, right? But
That's
you
right.
were anyway, I don't know, just ADHD moment on that one right there. My
Yeah.
brain's kind of thinking all through the stuff.
If they're coupled up, right? If they're married, if they're dating, if they're together, we really start to talk about, okay, what type of porn are you watching, right? So
Mm.
you may have interests that your partner's not interested in. You may have certain, and I get the answers like, oh, I watch anything and everything. And I'm like, yeah, you may, but you're ending with something.
Mhm.
You
And
got a genre
I'm
in there somewhere.
guarantee, yeah,
You got
you
a
are
genre in
ending.
there that says something
Yeah.
different.
That's
Yeah.
right. Your last bite of dessert's the same every time, and we need to figure out what that is.
Well, that's the
Mhm.
thing people talk about, when you see people and they're like, when you're when you're what is it? The joke used to be like when you're 230 pages in on Pornhub and you're still trying to find that one video. Because that's the thing. I mean, there's people like their history goes deep and shit like that, and that's the thing. They're just looking for that one because at the end of the day, like everybody's got that one thing. Because if you've done it enough, and you need something extra to get you over that last little hump there, you're going to go to find something a little deeper than what you did before, and that's the addiction piece of it. It's like that's
Right.
you're chasing the dragon. You're trying to get that one feeling back, and what you used to watch isn't doing it anymore. So you got to go a little bit deeper into that well and try to keep going until you figure out what it is that's going to get you there.
Yeah.
People just don't see it that like they never see it that way because they're like, oh, I'm not missing work. I'm not over here in the alley blowing somebody for porn. Like it's not an addiction. Like it's not that way. And it's like, yeah, but there's different levels to this shit, and it could be pretty fucking bad. Like if you like you said, the risky behavior, the things that could be happening. It's all different, and a lot of times people don't see it. That it's the harmless thing. Well, it's harmless. It doesn't hurt anybody. Like I wait till my wife goes to bed and I do whatever. That's all cool and all, but I mean, if it's affecting your relationship in any sort of way, like it can be fun, but at the same time, it can also sneak up on you and become a problem before you know.
Does your
Yeah, I
wife
think
know?
what you said, that's the key piece right there, Jason, which is I wait till they go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that
Mm-hmm.
now is tied with shame and guilt
Mm-hmm.
and sneaking and secrets, and that's where it starts, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, look, I also empathize with some of my couples where there's like a strict prohibition. The wives are like, no, he does not watch porn. He is not allowed to watch porn. He is not allowed to masturbate. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's just get this straight. It's his best friend.
Right.
And he's played with his best friend for a really long time. And I don't think you want the responsibility of always wanting to have to play with his best friend because he's going to want to play with it all day, every day. And you're not going to want that. Right.
Trust,
So
trust
there's
me.
some reality. We got to talk about like just realities of humans and physiology and our biology and what this means for each other. And so that then reveals, right, a lot of the stories they brought up, like, oh, now that we're married, whatever this behavior is, uh, you shouldn't do it. And then some couples are like, oh yeah, he does it. I do it. It doesn't matter. We're very
Mm-hmm.
secure and comfortable. And
Right.
that's really, yeah, if that's where they want to get, I don't try to push my shit on other people.
Mm-hmm.
And in our world, in the sex therapy world, we have this very simple mantra: don't yuck my yum. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to yuck your yum, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you like. And for everybody else who's not in that world, Jay-Z's got a great line in one of his songs. And he says, what you eat doesn't make me shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth, right? So if you're into that, I don't need to go change what you're into. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's causing you some distress, yeah, let's talk about it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm glad you said that because my question was like, but does your wife know? Right? Like there's that piece right there. When she goes to bed, then I do. Okay, well, that might be something to talk about, right?
Yeah.
There's something happening there.
Well, it's deep. It's a deeper conversation to have too. If you're with somebody that is just staunchly against it, you need to figure out why. Like I need to know why. You can't just be like, "Don't ever do that." Like why? Like what? Like Pizza. Like I've been doing this shit. What are you talking about? Like I've been dating Pamela Henderson for a long time. Like you can't mess with me with that shit. Like nobody loves me like me. But that's the thing. Like you don't want to be responsible for every time I need to empty the chamber. I promise you that you don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening, if a couple has either slowed down or stopped having sex, porn has now entered the picture. What ends up happening is now this very delayed ejaculation, right? Because typically the male he's got this visual image that he has figured out that, let's look at the finish line, right? He has figured out which pictures and images are the checkered flag on the race. So he knows how, if I find that checkered flag, I know the race will end. Okay, great. So now he's on this path. Also, this death grip and speed and pace that this guy is using is not going to match his partner. It's not going to match their biology. And so now when he actually gets back into having sex with his wife or girlfriend or whoever, even another, if they're in a homosexual couple, even if when they start having sex again, they're like, wow, this just doesn't even feel normal because they have trained their brain to reach orgasm a very specific way, in a specific pace, in a specific um, way, feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, there's no human that matches that. So you got to reprogram all of that as well.
Mm.
For both males and females, the absolute best sex toy, I'm going to give it away right now. The best sex toy you can buy for everybody is good lube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes
Mm-hmm.
everything easier and makes everything more comfortable. Everybody should have it in their nightstand. Reach
Mm-hmm.
for it. Even if you don't need it, you just reach for it.
And I think you had said something early on about that. I think maybe the first episode or the second episode, there was specific. There's something specific about lube that you said to be careful of and to look out for, right?
That's right. Yeah. Osmolality. It's the way that moisture is absorbed into your body. This is really important for females because things like KY and Astroglide, hope they're not your sponsors, Derek.
Not
Both
yet.
of those, your body draws the moisture out very quickly. It has a really high osmolality, and that then creates irritation, stickiness, the buildup, bacteria builds up. So you want to look for a water-based lubricant that has a very low osmolality, and yeah, that's kind of the go-to. I actually have a graphic that I'll tell you right now which one is the best. So, for example, KY has or Astroglide has an osmolality of 6,100. You shouldn't exceed 1,200.
Mm, mm,
All
mm.
right.
That's
And so the
crazy.
best out there is a brand called Slippery Stuff, and it's water based and it's 32. So, yeah, I keep a whole bowl of them at the front desk and just grab some on your way out.
Yeah. Shout out Slippery Stuff. We'll
Yeah,
take a
they're great.
sponsorship.
They're great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. And so why do you say that that's the best toy that a couple can get? Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so we talked about for the female irritation, dryness as we get older, the vaginal wall thins. We go through perimenopause, menopause. Hormones affect a lot of that, right?
Mhm.
And so um, it's just a natural part of life. And as we kind of get older, things slow down a little bit. Also, it helps increase the or decrease a little bit of the friction. So if you're having some premature ejaculation, you can actually slow down that friction a little bit.
Hmm.
If you're having ED, this can help, right? It can
Hmm.
make things a little bit easier in and out. So, um, yeah, I think it heightens for some people and it eases for some people, but it just becomes part of your repertoire.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that friction part. That would be really beneficial for somebody struggling with premature ejaculation. Interesting. So shout out Slippery Stuff again. Go get you a bottle.
Yeah.
Sponsorship, I'm gonna throw my Astrocard away when I get off here and then order some slippery.
Yeah, you don't want to use that stuff.
But
Yeah.
also, like when you're thinking about like talking about those types of things, like because that's another aspect of it too that couples have issues with is when they start introducing different toys and things. The biggest hottest thing on the market recently was the Rose for women, and shortly after that, you start hearing of like vast desensitization. Like they can't come at all. Like there's no orgasm release because they just don't feel like they've numbed it out. Like there's legitimately they've done damage to themselves because they use it so much and they've desensitized themselves and just can't like there's no orgasm to reach. So those are things that also people need to kind of keep in the forefront too and do a lot of research on before they start adding and introducing toys and things like that that have a high vibration rate and things like that too, because that could be a serious issue that comes up down the
Yeah, well, vibrators that oscillate at a very specific frequency really are matching up to your anatomy, right? So, finding the right fit is important. Um, if that woman just would take a week off, your body will readjust and get back in the game. The challenge becomes just like we were talking about men who watch a lot of porn. You got this crazy death grip, right? So
Mhm.
if they come in and go, "Yeah, I just can't reach orgasm with my partner," I'm like, "Okay, you've got some weird death grip, or you are going so fast, or there's
Loosen
something,
up a little bit, bro. Gee.
you rubbing it between your countertop. I don't know. You're doing something that doesn't match another human, and we got
Mhm.
to do that." Well, if you're using a high vibration toy or whatever you're into, that then is going to need to be a little bit of time to like reprogram and resensitized to a different way. But if that's your way of reaching orgasm, then that's your way of reaching orgasm. If it's not distressful, then let's just roll with it.
Mm, mm, yeah. Let's not roll with the death grip. Let's loosen that up a little bit.
Right.
You're trying to pull it off.
Yeah. And so for men, one of the easiest things is let's get some lube and you're going to use your other hand, right? Or you're going to use one of these toys, something that has a different feeling. And then they'll come back and be like, now I can't masturbate. And I'm like, yeah, that's how specific you had figured this thing out.
Mm,
And here again, this is how this all unfolds, right? Let's use that example you shared, Jason. Like, okay, you're going to now sneak off while she's asleep. Your brain's going, she's going to wake up and come in any morning, any minute. So I got to hurry up. And now you're programming yourself to hurry up. And then they'll come in and go, yeah, he's got some kind of like premature ejaculation thing going on. We can only do quickies. And he's like, because I got to hurry up and, and so we got to attack it from all points of view.
Well, because it also becomes the kind of the heightened, sneak factor. Like you're like, oh, there's fear involved here, and like this is like the elevated level of maybe she's gonna find out, maybe she's not. Like it's you add that level to it. It's almost like it's like cheating without cheating. So you're basically diet cheating because you're like, oh, if she finds out, it's gonna be horrible, but I don't, because it's not gonna be, because it's just me, and so maybe this heightened awareness of what's gonna happen. So then that's kind of basically the level that you're performing on at that point. And so, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
mm-hmm. Hmm. So I came up with some like kind of quick hit questions to kind of recap a little bit for you, Peace, just to kind of close out the show and the series and leave people with something to maybe write down or take away. So what helps someone stay in their body instead of getting stuck in their head during intimacy?
That's a really tough one because in the middle of it, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's having that game plan, right? Like, hey, would you be okay if we went slow tonight? Now you've already sent this intention that we're going to go slow tonight. Would it be okay if you orgasm first and then I orgasm second? And what does that look like? Right. So yeah, I think it's hard to do it in the moment of performing, but if you find yourself, in our world, we call it mindfulness, right? And all that means is noticing you've kind of drifted off to get back to present. And so within Sensate, we always focus on three things: temperature, texture, and pressure. Let your mind come back to, what am I touching? What is the temperature of what I'm touching? What is the texture? And what does the pressure feel like against me? And that brings you back to like, okay, I'm ready to be like in the moment.
Okay. No, this one you kind of answered a little bit, I think, but I'll ask it anyway. How can couples rebuild connection when quick functional sex has become the norm?
Yeah. So in our culture, we think slow sex is romance, right? But slow sex is really about tolerating closeness. And so we want to increase that tolerance of closeness. And it doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts well before. Right? So it is that little longer hug. It is the 5-second eye gaze and deep breath. For couples, once they can tolerate that, I'm like, hey, put your hand on each other's chests and feel the breath moving in and out. Your bodies sync up incredibly. And they come back and go, hey, we're feeling more connected. Don't know why. Yeah, you're connecting. Like, this is a great way to connect. So quickies are about bodies, right? Slow sex is about being seen.
That's good
And
right
if you're
there.
afraid of being seen, you're going to avoid slow sex. Seen
Quickies
wholly. So yeah, we want to work on that.
Quickies are about bodies. Slow sex is about being seen.
About being seen.
Fish always dropping some bars on here,
Trying to
bro.
give you some, man. I'm giving you some sound bites, brother.
Right. All right. How does someone teach their nervous system that slowing down is safe, not threatening?
Again, cannot do it when you're, naked, grinding away. That's the worst time to, hey, let's try some new things about being close, because you're in the middle of it, right?
Stare into my eyes for 8 seconds.
Yeah. So, you're the Gottman expert, so that, 6-second kiss before you leave each other.
20-second hug. Yep.
Yeah, that longer hug. Um, and I always tell them, like, when you hug, and then pull a little tight, both of you, just a little extra. Feel your
Mm-hmm.
breath within each other. Um, so yeah, it doesn't start in the bedroom, but you can, pre-discuss, hey, what would give you more?
Mm-hmm.
What are we not doing? What are we avoiding? And again, if they've got a porn, situation and they have a specific thing that they're into, are you guys open to making that a reality? Right. And if they're like, oh, that's really scary, that's fine. Leave it in fantasy. But
Yeah.
even the fantasy can kind of get you going and be vulnerable. Like, this is what I'm into. It's scary to say that. See, I've got people married a long time and they're like, I've never told my wife that I'm into this. It's like, that's a big ass secret to keep your whole life from the person that loves you the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually shame or guilt that's showing up.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what small rituals or moments before sex help deepen connection during sex?
Great question. I'm going to let you guys answer that one. I'll give you some feedback.
Okay. Jason?
Small rituals like pre-act altogether.
What small rituals or moments before? That was the question. What small rituals or moments before sex can help deepen connection during sex?
A lot of times for me and my wife, like I'll let her know ahead of time, like tonight I'm assuming like we're like I'll look at her and be like, hey, what are the chances we're going to bed early tonight? And that lets her know and puts her in the mind frame of like this is what's gonna happen. So expect intimacy, connection, all those things are gonna happen. So start preheating the oven, get that rocking.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I always go to it like it's intimacy all the time, not just when you get in the bedroom, right?
Right.
So, I'm hugging my wife, giving my wife a kiss, and making sure we connect. I'm smacking her on the booty. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving her compliments. I'm flirting. I'm doing stuff all the as much as possible that we get to see each other when we're not working right now because holiday season. She's at work right now actually. So, but I think it goes with kind of what we're talking about. And like I've said before, like sex is the pinnacle. Like it's the cherry on top of the banana split, right? Like there's so much more that goes into sex and intimacy than just the act itself. And so the small rituals or moments you have to figure out what those are for your relationship, but doing them consistently builds that deeper connection during sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Start slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going slow feels vulnerable. So that's where we want to create connection, is in that vulnerability, in that space.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So last one, how can couples invite more presence without it feeling like pressure or obligation?
No pressure, no obligation. That is consent all day long. And so I love giving my couples a yes, no, maybe checklist and having them use the language of a menu. What's on the menu? What are you up for? What are you thinking about? And that starts to get them, synced up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Good stuff. Any final thoughts on this particular topic or the series as a whole? Anything?
Yeah, man, this is a great topic. I mean, there's a lot of couples who are hopefully going to benefit from today's discussion. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I want to reiterate, like, quickies aren't the enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're into quickies and then you have no issues, and then go for it. That's your thing. Um, but disconnection, right? That's really what we're talking about. So,
Mm-hmm.
if all of your intimacy has to be like super fast, right? We got to hurry up and get there. That's usually because going slow feels too vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's where the closeness is that gap. So start slow, slow down, just slow down a little bit and let yourself be seen in the moment, right? I mean, at the end of the day, intimacy is not about speed. It's all about showing up. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're listening to this, you're wanting to learn how to slow down and show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Jason?
Man, the series as a whole has been so educational, so eye opening. It's helped me a ton, and just some of the things that I've needed to work on myself in my relationship as well. So, Fish can't thank you enough for all the knowledge, all the wisdom, the bars you've dropped because there have been plenty. And I'm anxious and excited to keep these conversations going. I know that we'll have you back on for more things in the future, and I can't wait.
You
Yeah.
bet. You bet. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think this is just another example for me of why I fight so hard with the behavior focused type therapy or the thought focused type therapy. Like we are emotional creatures. We feel, and so we do everything else out of that. Right. And so if there's something going on in the bedroom, whether, again, quickies aren't the problem. If you're dissatisfied, though, there's something going on there that's emotional that you need to talk about,
Yeah.
and so getting in touch with the emotional side, again, you have more emotional centers in your brain going to more neural pathways going from your emotional centers to your logic centers and vice versa, right? So
Yeah.
we feel first. So if there's something happening, the behavior is a symptom of the emotional thing that's happening. Dive in and figure out what that is.
Yeah.
Talk with your partner, get in therapy. Again, marriage therapy, couples therapy isn't a sign that your relationship is doomed. It is just like going to the gym for your physical health. Sometimes you need to go to the gym for your marriage health or your relationship health, right? So, but if there's something going on sexually within your relationship, whether it feels like a chore or body image or just a bunch of quickies, have the conversation about the emotional thing that's going on. What are we avoiding? Why is being vulnerable uncomfortable? Again, vulnerability, that's emotional, right? I'm afraid to be vulnerable. There's a feeling. That's an emotional piece right there. So
That's right.
I think a lot of it is just getting in touch with that emotion is what keeps reinforcing through this series for me, and having those tough conversations. So, man, yeah, like Jason said, man, I gotta echo him. Appreciate you, bro. You didn't have to commit to doing 5 of these. I know you're a busy man in school and everything you got going on. So I appreciate you taking the time out and doing these with us, man. And I do look forward to having you on in the future, talking about some more stuff as it comes up. So if this episode sparked anything for you, share it with someone and follow at the Majo Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, all the platforms. See y'all next week.
Take care.